Cascade-based Kids in Crisis that you see behind me here has an annual budget of $5 million. Back in 2014, the state cut $900,000 of that funding, and then again in September of this year, the Connecticut Department of Children and Families cut another $750,000 in funding for the organization.
I am very concerned about how do we strategize for the long-term sustainability of the organization, because we can't afford not to be here for children.
Now, the Greenwich community is coming together to help support this nonprofit that has been helping children in southwestern Connecticut for 37 years.
Kids in Crisis is the only program in the state of Connecticut that accepts calls from parents of all children newborn to 17.
Kids in Crisis, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding, is not a group home. It's an emergency respite.
Right now, Executive Director Sherry Shapiro says 8 of the 10 beds are occupied by children going through a crisis, whether that is a divorce in the family, mental health issues, bullying at school, or anything else that child considers a crisis. Businesses throughout the Greenwich community say this service is invaluable, and they are pitching in to help raise money.
People recognize that crisis can happen to anyone.
On December 5th and 6th, McArdle's Florist and Garden Center held its annual Reindeer Festival and spread holiday cheer to Kids in Crisis.
We donated $5 of every wreath that a customer purchased to Kids in Crisis.
That came to a total of $2,000, but that's not all. McArdle's is also selling these boxed chocolates, and 100% of the proceeds go to Kids in Crisis.
We consider it a great asset, and we're really, we feel fortunate to be able to help them.
Kids in Crisis neighbor, the Coscobber, donated a portion of sales to the nonprofit. Stephen Fox Jewelry had a pizza fundraiser, and Candy Fletcher of Minutemen Cleaners held a Halloween bake sale.
In less than a week, she raised $550. Now, just think about that. If that were multiplied by other small businesses, it's a great way to help raise funds.
Greenwich Police Chief James Heavey is advocating for funding for Kids in Crisis. In a letter to the editor, Heavey states, "Kids in Crisis is a critical team member for the Greenwich Police Department's restorative justice programs. Without their assistance in case management, our department would not have seen the decrease in juvenile delinquent incidents and recidivism." Also advocating on behalf of Kids in Crisis is the Needs Clearinghouse.
We've reached to every level in the state government, from the governor on down, trying to get them to reconsider the rescission.
Joe Calico of the Needs Clearinghouse knows firsthand how important Kids in Crisis services can be. Last winter, he was called on to help a family with 6 children that was living under a bridge.
There are shelters for the parents, but what most people don't realize is that most shelters will not take children. And there are lots of good reasons for that. And really the only entity that is equipped to handle children is Kids in Crisis.
Shapiro says this increase in community support has also increased awareness of the services Kids in Crisis provides.
The more that people talk about it, the more that there's an increased awareness. Not only comes funding, but becomes a reality of, oh, I know a family that can use those services, and the phone has been busy as a result of that.
As the community rallies behind this organization, Shapiro says her staff feels supported and hopeful.
It makes us feel like, okay, we've got to see a light at the end of this tunnel.
Kids in Crisis officials will be meeting with regional DCF staff on December 15th to discuss how the two can continue to work together despite the change in funding. Shapiro says she does not want the children served by Kids in Crisis to be affected by this change. Reporting for the Greenwich Sentinel, I'm Taylor Knight.